Celebrity weddings galore, the Grammys' new controversial category, and the problem with aesthetic loneliness influences. I'm Maggie Zhao.
And I'm Jasmine Wallace, and you're listening to Culture Club, where two writers and editors chat about pop culture, the arts, and the internet.
Today, we're on the land of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nations.
We would like to pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander listeners today.
We're coming from a sleepover together last night. We've just spent the whole night and morning together. How cozy and cute.
That sounds so romantic. Like we're actually lovers. No, I'm house sitting at the moment and I'm in this big house by myself. So I was like, Mags, come over, get some Thai food, did podcast stuff, watched an episode of Dairy Girls because you're still watching.
Yes, you introduced me and I'm loving it. We're at the final season and then we got up together. We took the train in, we took the bus in as well, and we just had a coffee. Like, I'm feeling so great. It feels like this is married life.
Welcome to Married Life.
Thank you.
And also, guys, Maggie just said before we started recording that she never has a coffee this close to getting on the mic. So she's feeling buzzy. She's feeling good. She has a little bit of a manic look in her eye. Yeah. So let's see how we go.
Yeah, it's tingling in my fingers, all that caffeine. That one coffee.
We have a big episode this week, so we're going to just dive right in. First cap off the rank is that Joe Alwyn is dating brand new person, Sarah Pigeon.
Yes, Joe Alwyn, famously Taylor Swift's ex. I feel like he will have that title for the rest of his days. But of course, he's an actor in his own right. Loved him in Hamlet as well. And yeah, he's been spotted with Sarah Pigeon, who of course we all know from Love Story earlier this year.
The pair was spotted in New York having some romantic dates. They were first spotted hanging around the Fort Greene neighborhood by Dumois. It was reported in Dumois. And then they were soon captured by Page Six, walking around Brooklyn, laughing and chatting and even kissing.
Yes, I saw those kissing pics. I was like, okay, that is more confirmation of this.
That was like what got the headlines going. I love this couple. I think it makes sense. It really does on paper.
Yes.
They look good together.
They look very good together. Both very attractive people, and they kind of like they don't look similar, but you know, they're both
just
like
tall and blonde.
Yeah, tall and blonde.
Also, like Taylor, tall and blonde. Maybe he has a type.
And that is tall and blonde ladies.
Beautiful. Beautiful. But when this news came out, I got served a TikTok on my feed. That shocked me. And it was some actual celebrity gossip that we didn't know about, which is crazy because we literally host a pop culture podcast. And it was by the user JessMess69. In the TikTok, she mentions that Sarah Pigeon dated Caleb Harper of Spacey Jane, the Australian indie band.
Isn't that wild? I feel like we are only a few degrees of separation away from Taylor Swift now.
Oh my gosh. Because, are you saying because we interviewed Spacey Jane on the podcast?
Yes, we've talked to Caleb.
Caleb is dating Sarah. Sarah is dating Joe. Joe dated Taylor. Okay, we're 4 degrees now. We're getting closer.
This is amazing. So we've essentially dated Taylor Swift.
Why was this so under the radar? Like Australian musical icons, current as well, like they're quite young, very successful. They're getting more global success as well. Why was that so under the radar that Sarah and Caleb were dating?
I think on purpose. So the two met during a Spacey Jane music video, and then it is confirmed that they were dating, but there's no like solid proof. They didn't like actively speak about it publicly much. So I think they were quite private.
Yeah, but it was reported in Harper's Bazaar, I read. When the news of Joe and Sarah emerged this week, Harper's Bazaar said she's only been previously linked to Caleb Harper as like a famous ex. However, she's kept her private life mostly out of the spotlight.
Speaking of Taylor Swift, rumors around her and Travis Kelce's wedding are at an all-time high. I feel like I'm in a heist movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like I've zoned out of it in the same way that I zone out of the rumors around debut Taylor's version album. And I just think there's so many Easter eggs in her like world that even the wedding stuff, I'm like, I don't believe anyone and I will wait until the pictures are out and it's confirmed.
True. Let's talk about the two biggest rumors because I think they're pretty compelling. Okay, I'm going to break it down to you. People really care because they are like the USA's royal couple. They are the biggest couple of the moment. and everyone's speculating like what's going to happen with their wedding. It's obvious that they want to keep the details secret, like for security and like privacy reasons. So there have been a few different plots thrown around. The main one, that they're getting married in Madison Square Garden.
Who would get married in Madison Square Garden? Sorry, the most unromantic destination.
So unchic.
Yeah.
You know, the main reasons why people are saying this as well is they have like, it's blackout, like it's like windowless. It is quite private. TMZ reports that the couple commissioned a massive stage that's, quote, being secretly built at a Pennsylvania production facility. And that could be happening July 3. That's a date that people are throwing around.
They're also saying the construction of the stage is, quote, under lock and key with security guards patrolling the area. And I think this is adding to like the suspense of it all. And it's funny, it's a really hard position to be in, I think, for them as a couple, because if you were so lax, everyone would know everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're like, no, like we have to keep this so private, there's security guards patrolling these spaces, it also creates more mystery because people are like intrigued. It's like, well, what are you hiding from it? Or like, what's the secret? What's it going to be? So it's like a lose-lose situation for them, I think.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to get married in New York City?
No. I think it'll be somewhere like in a garden, on a property, like somewhere.
That is my vision too.
Yeah.
If someone said, paint me Taylor Swift's wedding, I'd be like, yeah, beautiful, like enchanted vibe.
Yeah.
She's outside. She might even be wearing a flower crown for one of the events.
Like, don't her parents still, her parents still live on like the Christmas tree farm?
Yeah, perhaps.
I don't know if they do anymore, but something like, oh, we got married at our parents' property, like in the acreage. And that could be private.
Yes. This leads to the second rumor that's pretty big at the moment. It's like just breaking as we're recording this, but there has been new activity at Taylor's Rhode Island mansion. So people are like, ooh, is it happening there?
A TikTok video reportedly showed 4 women gathered on a rooftop balcony. 3 appeared to be wearing black robes, while a blonde woman wore white. The footage has attracted attention because fans are speculating if it's a pre-wedding celebration, meaning the actual wedding is close at hand.
Yes. Apparently there was security. Oh my God, every room is like there's security guards. But people were like, yeah, there was more security guards around that mansion. Neighbors are apparently like, it's usually dark. There's not much activity going on. But that Wednesday night at 8 p.m., like the lights were on. This could all be a distraction technique though, which I love. This reminds me of Princess Protection Program, that Disney movie. I don't know.
With Selena and Demi?
Yes.
And I never saw it, but I know of it.
You need to watch that movie as a side note. But I kind of like how they're doing little random...
Like decoys.
Yes.
Yeah. It's working because we're talking about it and we're speculating. But in the same way, I wait until Taylor's version album's out. I am waiting until this is fully confirmed.
One wedding that has been confirmed is a wedding between Tom Holland and Zendaya. Tom Holland finally broke his silence, I guess, and spoke about the wedding for the first time ever.
During an interview with Esquire, Tom spoke about the AI-generated images that were going around the internet around the time of their wedding.
How bad were they? It was like Iron Man, like smiling, like, ah. And there's even one with Tom Holland, like with his Spider-Man, like face costume thing, mask on. And I'm like, guys, real. Let's be real.
And all the comments being like, so happy for them, or like, which is true. But guys, they're fake images. It really scares me looking at AI images, the comment sections of them, because so many people believe it.
Well, speaking of people who did believe those images, Tom's grandma called him up because she thought she hadn't been invited to the wedding when she saw those images.
Oh my God. I thought you meant
my
grandma.
No, Tom Holland.
Sorry, so confused. I was like, did she think that you were Zendaya? He hadn't been invited?
The journalist Henry Wong asked Tom if any of his other family members had also asked, like, if they hadn't been invited to the wedding. And then Tom paused for 6 seconds. Thank you, Pedestrian TV, for including that detail. And he replied, no, because they were all there. Powerful line.
So funny. He did gush about his new bride and described Zendaya as his, quote, best friend and person. Tom said, our business can present very stressful situations and it's really nice to have a bedrock of a relationship that will stand the test of time.
Yeah, he continued saying, we can support each other in ways that only we can because only we understand really what it's like to live this life. And I think that is such a luxury because I just don't understand how I would be able to have anything like that with anyone else. I love this part. So for me, I found my person. She's my best friend and I'm the happiest I have ever been when I'm with her. But I have also never felt so supported and safe ever, period.
Aw, so cute. Interesting that he says, like, I don't understand how I would be able to have anything like that with anyone else.
No, because
I guess
think
that's like a personal feeling.
they really grew up together, right? They met at the start of like the Spider-Man franchise career. So they have in many ways seen each other grow up like this. So of course you could have another famous celebrity like actress, girlfriend or wife, but not in the same way where I think she saw him essentially at the start of his fame journey. And it's so special.
I got served on YouTube actually this really cute video of Zendaya from like 15 years ago.
Yes, I think I know.
Have you seen it? It had millions and millions of views and it was like, hey guys, it's Zendaya. Like if you want to find me, these are my social media accounts and like these are the handles. And it was just so like sweet.
Cute. I used to watch her in Shake It Up. So I've watched her since I was, a very young teenager.
I think that's the real generational divide as well of like Zillennial, Millennial versus Gen Z is I did not watch that. Like I was already mid-high school then and you did. And I think that we don't often have those things that we can like compare. The Grammy Awards is adding 5 new categories: R&B collaboration or duo group performance, the best traditional pop vocal performance, and best traditional folk album. But the categories causing some concern this week are the best Asian pop music performance and the best Latin song.
Let's talk about this. I feel like this past year's Grammys was a massive moment. We saw Bad Bunny become the first artist to win the Album of the Year for his Spanish-speaking album. Rosé became the first K-pop artist nominated for Record of the Year, which is kind of so crazy to me. And Cat's Eye landed nominations for Best New Artist and Best Pop Duo Group Performance. Also, of course, the K-pop Demon Hunters song Golden also won an award. So it was a very multicultural, I guess, array of winners that the Grammys doesn't usually platform.
So the Grammys chief executive, Harvey Mason Jr., said that expanding this categories means like the event is more inclusive. It enables the awards to, quote, represent more music creators, artists, writers, and producers. So the Recording Academy, who organizes the Grammy Awards, added a number of Korean and Latino artists to its voting panel last year as well. And that was seen as laying the groundwork for more expansion in inclusivity and multiculturalism, which you think is great. Like on paper, this seems like good news, right?
Mainly going to be talking about the Asian pop music category today. And on the announcement for this category, they defined it as a song that uses, quote, meaningful use of one or more Asian languages. So it is more about the languages used. They did only also identify K-pop, J-pop, and C-pop explicitly in the definition. We don't know if that means they're excluding other Asian music, but I do find it like not a great sign that they're only pulling out these massive East Asian names.
So for example, the song Dynamite by BTS was a massive hit. They sang that song all in English. So that song wouldn't be up for this consideration.
Yeah,
it's
correct.
all about like the language. So what people are questioning is the push and pull between recognition and segregation.
Yeah, I think most discourse I'm seeing online is more outrage. I think I'm of a similar mind, right? Because for me, it's like, oh, it sounds like you're going to just lump all these Asian artists together in this category and then potentially exclude it for the big mainstream categories that we see, like Best Album or Best Artist of the Year.
Yeah, like next year, would Bad Bunny have won the Grammy that he did if there was this Latin category? And would it have been as a pop culture moment if that was the case.
Mm-hmm.
When the Grammys created the best rap album in 1996, this conversation also came up. So some of the hip hop community initially pushed back on the grounds that this separate category limited rap and made it not legitimate enough to be a album of the year and segregated it essentially, especially when we know rap and hip hop comes predominantly from Black communities.
And I think it is nice to see that, I'm trying to do the quick maths, 30 years on from that, that doesn't seem to be the case. I do think rap and hip hop albums are rightfully celebrated in these award seasons. So I'm hoping that this could just be a nice addition, but not like a takeover of Asian artists in particular at the Grammys. The Australian fashion brand Lioness has come under fire this week after its graphic tees were accused of sexist language. Lioness, if you don't know, it's a fast fashion brand here. They call themselves a fashion house which, quote, delivers sexy, luxury-inspired product designed for headstrong, fearless women who love to dress the way they feel.
The yellow T-shirt is also being sold in Myer as well as their online store for $29 and features a slogan on the front, which reads, "I'm too pretty to do math." It's caught the attention of Dr. Kathy Foley, who is the president of the Australian Academy of Technological Sciences and Engineering. The Australian former chief scientist wrote to Myer chair Olivia Worth to raise concerns over the T-shirt's messaging and said that it would have an effect on girls and women in STEM.
So she said, "It's not helpful and it's giving such a wrong message. You have to ask, what does it say to the world? What is it encouraging women to think and aspire to?"
So this isn't actually the first time this has happened locally. Last year, the Advertising Standards Authority in New Zealand ordered the removal of an ad because it promoted a pink backpack targeted at young primary school-age girls and said, "Can't do long division," which is like so niche, like specifically long division. The watchdog determined that it perpetuated the myth that girls aren't good at maths, so really similar. Also in 2014, Libra period products were sanctioned for reinforcing the same negative stereotypes because their ad read, "Absorbs more than you ever did in maths class," which is like kind of clever in a way, but like it is perpetuating the stereotype.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, so funny because I didn't absorb anything in maths class, but I understand like the ramifications. Like you don't need it on an ad.
Yes.
It's like, why?
On one hand, I can see this as a light-hearted, tongue-in-cheek, funny copy. But on the other hand, I think like where I mostly stand with this is that it is more harmful than anything that we keep dismissing like women's intelligence as something that's the butt of a joke. Like, oh, obviously girls can't do this. It's just, I just think in the scheme of things, like it's not helpful and it's like not even that funny.
No, it's not even that funny. And it all adds up to the perception, which is what these educators and scientists are saying this week. Another big one was also in 1992 when Mattel launched a Barbie doll called Teen Talk Barbie, and each toy was programmed with like 250 messages and each doll could only say 4, so it was like randomly generated. And one of the statements were like, "I'm studying to be a doctor," but then another one said math class is tough. And then that provoked this uproar from mathematicians and educators as well. So really similar. And Mattel ended up pulling the Barbie from the shelves. 1992 was 34 years ago, and it's literally the same story. I think it's even more pertinent now than it was in 1992 because we are having all these conversations about girl math, trad wives. It does sometimes feel like women's rights are being rolled back. You're right, we can see both sides. But yeah, I just don't think it's needed, right?
I also think there's something about the over-identification of negative traits about yourself that it's almost like manifestation. It becomes true. You tell yourself you're bad at something, then you believe that, and then you act in that way. So I don't think that stances like this or these like cute throwaway lines like, "Oh, I'm so bad at maths." And I know, we all say things like that, but I actually think we should actually try push back against that. I've been doing that in my own life. I always would used to be like, oh, I'm just really bad at languages. My brain's not wired that way. And then I've been thinking, I'm like, no, that's not true, Ellen. Like I can work on this. And I've shown myself recently, no, I can do this. And I think when we put those labels on ourselves, we're only doing ourselves a disservice.
Yeah, I love that. I'm like that with money. Like a few years ago, I'd be like, I'm just so bad with money. And now I'm like, nope, this is an active choice and you can learn how to be better. Last night we were like talking about this really briefly and you're like, Jazz, where's your maths book? I said I was going to get better at maths. I still want to.
Yeah.
I still want to. Maybe I'll add it to my like winter hobbies that we talked about in the episode recently. Allan Dougan is the CEO of the Australian Association of Mathematics Teachers. He wrote an opinion piece for the Sydney Morning Herald. As I was reading it, I was like, gosh, this is quite a strong stance. Like it's very angry in its tone. But then halfway through the piece, he says that he has a little girl who's in year 6. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I think when you have, obviously we have empathy but like I think when you have a child who is at that exact age of like, I feel like at the age of like 11, 12 is when you start questioning your passions and your hobbies and you're like, am I good at maths? Or like, oh, girls shouldn't be good at maths, so I should focus on something else. And so I can see why he's so angry at this. When you have real state, you see the consequences of it.
We also see that with girls' participation in sports. It often falls off a cliff around this time. There's so many different reasons for that, but like messaging around like what girls' bodies should look like or what they should be doing. So I see the similarities there too.
So Allan wrote, this is not a joke. It's an identity statement. A girl doesn't see it as ironic. She sees it modeled on someone who looks like the girl she compares herself with, maybe even aspires to be. Sold in a store her parents take her to. She internalizes the message, consciously or not, that this is an identity available to her. Pretty girls don't do maths. Maybe that's who I am. It tells the girl wearing it and everyone who reads it that prettiness and mathematics are mutually exclusive, that if you are one, you cannot be the other, that who you are is a reason not to think, that if I want to be pretty, I can't do maths. In the piece as well, he really goes for Myer, which I think is an interesting point because the brand is Lioness and Myer is just selling it. But I think Myer representing like Australian retail departments, like that's the take that the editor wanted, I guess.
He even points out in the piece that Lioness, an Australian brand targeting Australian girls, isn't even spelling maths the way that we do in Australia. We say maths with an S on the end, but the shirt was like, I'm too pretty to do math.
Yeah, because I feel like it is playing into the like Paris Hilton bimbo-fication of girls that we saw like 20 years ago. So it's not surprising that they say math, but I do think it is feeding into the Americanization of Australia. This is really deeping it now, really deeping it. But I think in the past like 5-10 years, because of the, you know, the internet essentially and us all being in different echo chambers, but like globally we're all in the same, like seeing similar headlines, talking about similar things online. And I think the influence of America on Australia is only growing. And this is a good example of that, using math.
I love it when we deep things like that. I will say Lioness is a brand, I would say more marketed towards women rather than like teens.
Yes.
And I would feel weird if I saw a child, like a teenager wearing this. But I'm thinking like if I saw one of our friends out wearing this, you are right, it feels like one of those like funny like
Slogany tees
that we see around.
There's a few of them. One that comes to mind, which is less degrading, is the Career Girl shirts. I don't know if you saw them. They're just plain white shirts with like red font. It just says Career Girl. But then you've still got like the girl in there and it's like grown women wearing these shirts.
Yes.
I think it also is contributing to like the girlification of women.
Yes. I also want to point out with the Lioness thing, again, not uncommon for a fast fashion brand, but if you literally Google, I'm too pretty to do math, you'll find so many brands selling similar tees. So it's not even like an original idea from them too. Have you noticed a certain type of social media content that's focused on loneliness? A writer for The Cut, Rachel Pick, has and wrote a piece called The Loneliness Influences inside the luxurious tedium of I Have No Friends TikTok. Jazz, has this been something you've seen on your For You page?
I follow one creator called Bambi who she's British and she lives with her parents, and that's a big part of her content is like talking about how she doesn't really have friends. She's never had a long-term partner. She moved home and now she's like really successful in her influencing online career. But a lot of her content is about living with her parents and why it's okay to be like lonely. And I think it's interesting seeing her perspective. That's like one who I follow, but it was a really great article. And I looked into like the content creators that Rachel references, and I hadn't heard of them before. So I don't think it's coming up on my feed.
Again, her article is quite New York based as well.
Yeah.
So I'm sure this is definitely happening in Australia with different references, but it's not something I've engaged with much too. What I find interesting is Rachel opens the piece by talking about what traditional influencers do and sell, which is they sell you desire, things that you want or you aspire to, you know, fancy meals out, overseas trips, like cool clothes, all that. And it's interesting that this niche is almost built on the opposite of that, making you feel okay with like what you don't have almost. So the videos she references really vary. So some of them are like POV videos titled, "You live alone in New York City and have no friends, so your nights look like this." And it's just like someone chilling in the living room. It also goes from things like POV, "You're a single girl who lives alone and has no friends, so you go grocery shopping at 10:04 p.m. to things that are more serious, things like POV, "You escaped your abuser, now you live alone with no kids and no friends."
I think this is such a fascinating subject because we are really like Truman showing ourselves now at this point. If you're online, we're all filming ourselves like doing different day-to-day activities. I also think this is coming out of the fatigue with like traditional influencers who are showing more aspirational content, luxury fashion hauls. I think this is blowing up as well because it is like regular people who are showing a vulnerability, which is they don't have friends or they live alone, and they're choosing to turn that into an identity pillar or like a strength.
Completely right. And you know what it reminds me of? Like a decade ago on social media when it was really like the new hot thing to cry on camera and talk about your mental health. Like that was quite a gear shift change in what we expected from public figures online. And this is like a cousin of that, I think.
One point that I pulled out from the article that made me be like, yeah, what is happening here is Rachel writing, "How introverted can a person be while also making public-facing content about their private lives?" I think that's interesting because how can you're introverted, but you're also showing like this most intimate moment of like cooking by yourself, sitting on the sofa by yourself. I guess you could say that's like normal or even boring. But if you can connect with an audience of viewers, what's stopping you from connecting with people in your real world? And I really did have to check myself when I was reading this because I was like, it's not that hard to make friends. And then we had a little convo about it and you were like, some people do find it really hard. And I was like, oh yeah, that's my world experience, my privilege coming through of like finding it easy to make friends. What do you think about that? Like if you're making content online about this and you have hundreds of thousands of followers in some cases, do you think you do have the ability to go out and make friends in the quote unquote real world?
I actually think there's a big difference between making content and being sociable. I know so many content creators and I think a platform, for instance, like YouTube, which prioritizes like long form, like chatty content like that, a lot of people who are quite introverted actually are on these sites because I think there is a massive difference of like being by yourself in a room talking to a camera and there's no one else actually physically there with you. I feel like that's so much less intimidating than having like a real person or a stranger that you are trying to converse with.
Also because you can control it, right? Like you can say something to a camera and then edit it out and you're controlling your image.
True.
Whereas when you're in a conversation with the person, it is harder because it's like a natural flowing thing. Another quote from the article is, "The centering of actual friendlessness worried me. Like I was watching tiny documentaries about the loneliness epidemic."
This is bang on, I think. So yeah, when Rachel said that in the piece, I was like, yeah, because I don't know if I felt uncomfortable about this content. I think I totally understand why it's there because there's elements of being relatable. But I'm like, is this good for us? That was what I was trying to get at. Is it good if we keep like basking in these conversations around loneliness and almost like validating each other's experiences? For sure, to some extent, because loneliness is part of the human condition. But the way she puts that, like, we're really centering friendlessness, almost like an identity trait, like we were just talking about.
Yeah. And it's like that thing of like, oh, I'm bad at maths or I'm bad at money.
Yeah.
If you say, I have no friends, I have no friends, I have no friends, and you're putting that out into the world online and it becomes like a core identity of yours, you're not going to want to change that. If you're getting like rewarded, whether it's in follows or views or whatever, even brand partnerships sometimes these people can veer into, you start earning money off the fact that you have no friends. What is incentivizing you to go out and make friends if like you've had so much quote unquote success like online by making that your identity? I think it's really worrying.
This relates to a Substack written by Caitlin Richardson, who has a Substack called Milk-Fed. The piece is called Heidegger and the Illusion of Aestheticized Loneliness. That concept of aestheticized loneliness, I think, like hits the nail on the head of what we are getting at here.
So if you didn't know, Heidegger is acknowledged to be one of the original philosophers of the 20th century. So just for some context. But Caitlin writes, the moment we aestheticize loneliness is the moment we refuse to experience it. We keep it at a distance, turning it into something external rather than something that lives inside us. The curated image of solitude, the writer alone with their thoughts, the wanderer lost in contemplation, is not solitude at all. It's a performance, a way of controlling something that in reality leaves us powerless. And this is why we resist it, because real loneliness does not make us feel special. It does not offer revelation or transformation. It just exists, indifferent to whether we acknowledge it or not. So we reach for distraction, for connection, for a version of solitude that is curated and controlled. But in doing so, we deny ourselves the one thing loneliness demands of us, to simply sit with it, without dressing it up, without making it mean anything more than what it is.
I love this take. I think it's so right because when we are performing loneliness, we're not sitting with what it actually expects from us, and we're almost like outsourcing our feeling and like it's in a nice way. It's nice to share how you're feeling with others, but you're not allowing yourself to embody that and really kind of come to terms with how that feels.
Yes. It's actually something I'm going through at the moment is going to therapy and like actually trying to learn how to sit with my emotions. I intellectualize them and I also talk about them with like so many friends that I then get muddled of like, what am I actually feeling? And I like distract myself and talk about it and like flip it all around. And then I just keep moving through life and I'm like, wait, what was that? What's going on? Feeling a bit topsy-turvy. So I think when the loneliness influencers are doing that as well, are you actually sitting with that? Or are you monetizing loneliness? It's a really funny concept because I don't think they want to change. Do they like being lonely?
What was really nice, I guess, and refreshing is at the end of the cut piece, when Rachel was interviewing a few of these influencers, at least one or two of them are actually making more friends in the world. Like they're signing themselves up to pickleball group, team, sport, and other things, because surely at the end of the day, we do want that connection. That is why these influencers and their community are in the same space. They're finding like community with one another. So at the end of the day, we're still trying to find like kinship and relationships. And hopefully my hope is once you're like, oh, cool, I'm not alone in my loneliness. I shouldn't feel ostracized or bad about it. Other people feel this way. Maybe I do feel now empowered to try go out and make friends.
It's now time for Bookmarked, where we share a recommendation we've been loving watching, reading, or listening to. Maggie, you're up first.
This is so rare for me. I'm recommending a horror movie, and it is called Leviticus. It was just released this year. Little disclaimer, I worked with them on my personal socials, but this is not at all like related to that. I'm so shook. I'm recommending an Australian horror movie. But guys, I want you to know it's horror light. It's not too scary. Let me tell you the premise, right? So it's set in this rural Australian town. It follows these two teenage boys. They're played by Joe Bird and Stacey Clausen. And it's like a little queer love story. But then because it is a religious town, somebody comes in to try like take this like queer demon out from them. And what it unleashes is this shape-shifting, I guess, monster, but it takes the form of what you most desire. So in their case, it's each other. And it's really compelling because you're like, you don't know if you're seeing the real person or if you're seeing the demon taking their form. And it's like, there's so much like lust and want between them and you're trying to fight against that. It was such a good story. And I feel like it was more about like cultural commentary and like social commentary, right? Like that's the real demon in this, homophobia, right? And conservative values. So it wasn't too scary as well, I would like to preface, and you can like shut your eyes, you know what I mean? And I really liked it. It's also a perfect 87 minutes.
Yes. Okay. Where can people watch it?
It's in the cinemas now. How good. And I feel like we really don't get to see that many original Australian movies in the cinemas. So watch it there.
I feel like this is the winter of horror for Culture Club, talking about it so much. I don't know if I'll see it in the movie. I'm scared. But we'll see. We'll see.
Now, what about you? What are you recommending for us?
This is not like a revolutionary recommendation because everyone's been talking about it, but I read it this week and I really enjoyed it. So I'm sharing. I read Strangers, a memoir of a marriage by Belle Burden. You've probably seen it around. It's like a white book with blue kind of birds on the cover.
This is the one we talked about because it was getting turned into a screen adaptation too, hey?
Yes, it's getting adapted with Gwyneth Paltrow starring. Oh. So I will quickly go through the premise. It is a real story. It's a memoir and it follows Belle Burden, who is basically an heiress, socialite. She trained as a lawyer, ended up marrying someone in finance in New York. So like wealthy family, they get married and then have 3 kids together. And 20 years later, on like a random day in March 2020, Belle's husband leaves her and the kids really abruptly. And then it follows the months and years after this like crazy story. And the craziest part is that Belle says that like nothing was particularly wrong. Like they weren't fighting. She didn't see it coming. It was really just like a switch went off and he was like, I'm done with this family and left. So everyone's talking about it, but I think for good reason. It's great writing. I couldn't put it down. It was so easy to just like get through it. Yeah. It is pretty salacious because it's got like divorce, like wealth, finance and betrayal. So I think all things that humans find really compelling to watch because I think especially for married people, it's like, oh God, like what if? And also it's obviously a good lesson of not becoming financially dependent on a man. And even if you are wealthy or you're so in love, like you have to have eyes over your finances because a man can just overnight after 3 children and 20 years decide he doesn't want to be with you anymore and ask for half of the house and that you use your prenup to buy. Can't relate to that. But it is a good message of financial dependence as well. It was based on Belle's essay that she wrote for Modern Love, which is the classic New York Times column. So it's been built off of that. It's quite short as well. So if you want like a winter read, I read it in a few sittings, but you could read it in one go if you had a few hours. It's really great.
I feel like it'd be a great audiobook too, hey?
Yes, also probably because she would be reading it herself. There were parts that were just so like jaw-dropping and that you're just like, oh God, this poor woman. So yeah, a bit of a zeitgeisty one this week, but I really enjoyed it.
I'm so glad that you've actually read it because I've just seen so much about it. I will be reading it eventually as well. I want to be part of the hype. Thanks for joining us today for this episode of Culture Club. We've loved having you here.
If you enjoyed listening to this episode, share it with a friend, rate and review on Spotify or Apple, and you can also watch on YouTube. And we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.